Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, and welcome to Shutterstock's Generative AI Showcase, our first in a continuing series of events developed to give you access to the experts, answers to the questions, and exposure to the innovation Shutterstock is creating to power up your storytelling. My name is Skip Wilson, and I have the pleasure of serving as Shutterstock's Vice President of Brand, but today I'm taking on a different role as I'm stepping in to serve as your MC. In our first showcase, we're focusing on generative AI. And unless you've been under a rock, you couldn't have missed all of the buzz surrounding this technology. And even if you have been under a rock, I'm sure an AI assistant may have come to educate you anyway. Regardless, it's been noisy and it's been confusing, and that's where Team Shutterstock steps in. Shutterstock is on a mission to bridge the gap between idea, design, and execution so you can create with confidence. And so today we're cutting through that noise and giving you the real insights and tools needed to win. Over the course of the next 60 minutes, you'll get to explore all of the opportunities generative AI opens up for businesses, for marketers, artists, and creative storytellers. You'll learn from the real experts shaping the future, not only from Shutterstock, but from Shutterstock partners like Amazon, NVIDIA, and Peloton. And no, sadly, Cody's not here. Instead, we'll give you an intimate view of how one notable artist is using AI to take his medium of expression to new heights. And if your favorite part of school was show and tell, you're in luck because our amazing product team is here to take you through a slick demonstration showing how Shutterstock solutions and design tools work together to cut your production time from 3 hours to 3 minutes. You'll want to stick around for that. All right, enough of the preamble. As we have a full hour, let's get into our first session. I'm pleased to welcome Shutterstock's Chief Product Officer and my friend, Megan Schoen, who we've tapped to lead our first exciting conversation titled Creative Possibility with AI. Welcome to the stage, Megan.
Thank you, Skip, and thank you so much to everyone joining us today virtually. I am excited to have what I'm sure will be an amazing conversation. AI is reshaping industries. It's capturing widespread attention and igniting creative possibilities. And today, with this amazing panel, we're going to explore how AI is revolutionizing the creative process and driving innovation like never before. To put it simply, generative technology is magical. In a matter of seconds, with just a description, anyone can translate something that lived in their imagination into an image. Just by asking ChatGPT or Bard to generate a presentation, professionals can get a really great starting point just like that. This technology is already disrupting established norms. And with disruption often comes uncertainty. Yet, amidst this uncertainty, we're finding inspiration and enthusiasm for all of the possibilities it presents. At Shutterstock, we have wholeheartedly embraced this technology to deliver innovative experiences to our customers and to expand opportunities for our creative contributors. Today, I have the privilege of being joined by exceptional panelists who have also embraced AI. And I'm sure that they're going to offer their unique perspectives on how this technology will propel creative innovation forward, while also shedding some light on how they're navigating challenges in order to fully unlock the potential of AI. So without further ado, I would like to bring the panelists on to the virtual stage. First, I'd like to introduce Greg Estes, VP of Corporate Marketing and Developer Programs at NVIDIA. Welcome, Greg. And Dia Nguyen, Senior Practice Manager of Responsible AI at Amazon Web Services. And last, but certainly not least, Jackie Moore, Executive Producer at Peloton Interactive. Welcome all. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Thank you.
To start, I'm sure you each have a very unique vantage point on AI given your respective roles. Let's just maybe spend some time having you all give us a high-level snapshot of your role and how you're integrating AI into the work that you're doing. Jackie, maybe I'll start with you.
So I'm Jackie Moore at Peloton, and I'm producing scenic content specifically as part of my responsibilities there. And in terms of AI, it is a part of our workflow. I can't really disclose too much, but it is something that we are definitely embracing as a company.
Amazing. And Greg, what are you up to over there at NVIDIA?
Well, kind of everything. You know, we're as a platform provider, our whole role is to be the underpinning on which other people build their solutions on, and so through partners of ours like AWS, for instance, our GPUs are in the cloud and in big data centers. People all around the world are using our software to create all this leading edge generative AI. And then I'm also a Shutterstock customer because I run our creative department. So I kind of have both ends of it, and really excited about all of our possibilities.
Amazing. I'm eager to dive more into that. But Dia, would love to hear from you and what you're up to over at AWS.
Sure. Well, Greg kind of gave a little bit of an introduction to some of the things that AWS is doing, but I'll speak more specifically about what I get to do. Of course, most people know us as a technology provider, and certainly providing not only services, but also chips in order to help enable enterprise customers and even startups in their deployment use of AI. But as the senior practice manager in responsible AI, I've been leading a team globally that actually works with our customers to help them along what we call the responsible AI journey. And when I built this team, it was specifically to respond to needs of our customers as they were beginning to leverage our services, and even expressing some concerns, and certainly some of that from those in the industry and marketplace about some of the potential risks and how best they can leverage the technology. And so our team is part of that work, not just in terms of us being able to use it, but partnering with our customers to be able to help them understand how they best can use it. I can do that in ways that will engender trust and will be inclusive and responsible.
I love that, Dia. And just to play into that a little bit, at Shutterstock, we've been very focused, obviously, on embracing AI and bringing these capabilities to our customers as quickly as possible, while also ensuring that we're doing so in an ethical and creator-centric way. But to your point, it can be very hard for organizations to know where to start because there aren't clear regulations in this space. What guidance are you providing to AWS to help the organization step into this responsibly?
Well, I can approach this in two ways, essentially. My responsibility is specifically customer facing, but I can tell you how we look at this as an organization and how that connects to what we share with our customers. We approach responsible AI as a strategic imperative. So one of our core underpinnings is that we believe that AI should be people-centric, that it should respect the rule of law. So any regulations and other legislation that might be in play, that it should respect human rights and the values of equity, privacy, and fairness. And in order to do that, we need to have a focus that starts off with a strategic alignment from a leadership perspective and having their support. The element about it being people-centered means that we ultimately want to make businesses or companies successful, but doing that with a focus on the people that receive the benefit, as well as those that would be engaged in building, the business or the products. And that means that we need to ensure that we're keeping a focus on the people, right? The customer, and making sure that we have the right voices at the table, that we're bringing in the right perspectives, that we actually are building for the right personas. And I think that also ties into what we do in terms of the way in which we build into a future generation of diverse data scientists, machine learning engineers, et cetera. For example, the kind of work that we do with providing scholarships in AI, ML, and as well as our partnership in terms of bringing AI education to the masses, whether that's through our AWS Skill Builder or free courses that are part of our machine learning university. I think the other thing just to mention in terms of this sort of broad strategy or the way that we think about this is also making sure that we can bring the principles or the best practices that we're hearing, the theory into life, right? That it becomes a part of the way that people just do business. And that's not just, something that is a side project like responsible AI on the side, but that we're actually instituting the right people, process, and technology in concert to drive, unintended or to remove unintended impact and risk, and to make sure that we are, building in inclusive and responsible ways. And that's the same kind of approach and recommendations that we make, when engaging directly with our customers, that they can not just talk about responsible AI, not just see it as best practices that are out there, but look into ways in which they can actually operationalize that in the organization.
I love that, Dia. And in the vein of operationalizing it, Greg, I'd love to hear from you. NVIDIA is bringing AI capabilities to market. What are the types of things that you're focused on? How are you thinking about things that are important to you as you're making marketing decisions, content decisions? What are some of those considerations as you bring AI into the work that you're doing?
Well, we're strongly behind the idea of ethically sourced images and artists getting paid in the same way that we would like our engineers to get paid for their work. And so the directive for my team is when we're producing content, that is the rule. So not only do we say it, not only do we work with partners like Shutterstock that have the same belief system that we do, but we live it. We live it every day. So from a creative standpoint, that's how we think about it. And in terms of what we're seeing in the marketplace, I got to tell you that every enterprise that we talk to that is super interested in generative AI, it's actually the first question that they have is, is this responsibly sourced? They use different words, but it amounts to what are the ethics behind this content? Because for the people who are reviewing this, some of them are going to be really, really technical PhDs. Other people probably are new to it. You've got a wide range. And the folks who are newer to it, the way AI works is you have to start with a lot of data. And that's where Shutterstock has a lot of ethically sourced data. And so you take that and then you let a supercomputer crank on that data for literally weeks to come up with what's called a foundation model. And that foundation model is the basis of then what you can prompt to ask it to generate images or generate video or generate 3D objects or generate music or whatever it's going to generate. So the whole process starts with having a lot of really great data in it. And once you have that, then the possibilities start to become really, really limitless. It's a great and exciting thing, but it has to start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a lot to consider in this space. And I think you're all aware of our stance and why, we're partnered with NVIDIA. Data is really important to us. Ensuring that we are creator-centric is very important to us. Outside of those considerations, I think part of the reason this is such an exciting topic is because there's tremendous opportunity with this technology, whether that's improving productivity, harnessing creative capabilities that weren't available before. And Jackie, maybe I'd like to turn to you to help us step into this part of the conversation. I mean, you've worked to bring content to millions of people via your experience at BBC and Tyler Perry Studios, Viacom, and now, of course, Peloton. As someone who's leading, producers, directors, writers, designers, creative talent, how are you thinking about how AI can influence or change how you create stories in your creative process?
Thank you. So I think one of the biggest challenges for creatives is actually in getting started. So it's getting that first word on the paper or the first brushstroke on the canvas. And in terms of what AI is able to do to support this, it's pressing that jumpstart button. So that is jumpstarting the creative process, which is going to be additive. I think that there's a lot of musicians who've also spoken about this as being something to help writers through blocks as well. So I see it as incredibly additive for getting things started and for an outline. But also as well, it's really improving the production workflow and work streams, which is then enabling creatives to spend their time being creatives. A lot of the creative's role can be taken just doing administrative tasks. And I want to talk about an AE, which is an assistant editor, for an example. An AE can spend a lot of their time creating meta tags and grouping footage, as opposed to actually looking at it to create a string out, for example. And a string out is basically pulling segments of the show together. In terms of the perspective, I know that there is hesitancy or, ethical concerns around AI in the creative process, but I sort of want to offer a different perspective on that. The way in which I see it utilized in production, I just see it as another form of pattern recognition in the creative process. So, for example, in art, there's always been the golden section that we use for composition. And in music, there's always 4 beats and a bar. And again, as someone who has launched formatted programs that are now available globally, it's the template. It still needs that human interaction. And I see it as almost like the AI is the hard skills, but you still need the creatives to bring the soft skills into a piece to bring it to life.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I think it really speaks to the fact that AI and humans can work together to actually unlock human potential and creativity. And maybe we can just spend a second. I love the group's perspective, because one of the biggest concerns that we hear is around AI replacing humans. I think that's one of the fears that arises. And Jackie, you just gave a great example of how AI can help creators. I'm wondering, and I'm interested in, what you're experiencing in your organizations. Is AI enabling or replacing? And, Greg, maybe I'll open up to you first.
Yeah, for sure. Not just in our own organization, but what we're seeing with all of our customer base is as well. Maybe I'll use an example. I think last time I was on the Shutterstock site, I think there's like a Disneyland castle, which is like a Turbo Squid model or one of the models you could start with. And if you look at that, just think about the hours and hours and hours it would take in order to put all of those polygons together to create this 3D object. And nobody had a lot of fun sitting there making all of the, every detail of the windows put together. It would be a lot more fun if you could just type something in and start with that and move hours ahead so that you can get to making it look old and crufty, like it was built in 1404 because you're working on Game of Thrones or something. And it's something to get the artist going more than replacing any artist. Certainly for us, we would be looking to add people on the creative team just because you can get that much more content done. And nobody ever, at least in my part of the business, we never have enough artists, and we never have enough creative people and creative time to do all of the exciting things that we're thinking of doing, And so if we can accelerate that process, particularly taking some of the drudgery stuff out and then letting artists start from something and also be inspired by something they hadn't thought of. That's a great thing about a lot of, generative AI for creating images, is you might get this whole kind of look that you didn't expect, but you really love, and then you can take it in the direction that you like. So no, I strongly feel it's not replacing artists, and it really can't. It's not like you could just push a button and get perfect creativity that is on brand for you and what you're doing right out the back end. So no, it's a tool. It's a great tool, but it's just a tool.
I love that perspective, using it as a tool, switching where creators are spending their time. And your anecdote, I think, is a really compelling one around this may actually add jobs or people because we will be able to move a lot faster and deploy our most creative people against the things that matter most.
Absolutely.
I love that. Dia, how about at AWS? How are you guys thinking about this? Are you seeing it as a tool as well?
Absolutely. And I like the example that Greg gave, because it actually made me think about how we often talked about the transition to the cloud, when people were starting to embrace the cloud and cloud technology. And, one of the advantages of being able to move to the cloud and not have to worry about the core infrastructure in your data centers, where that you could offload that undifferentiated heavy lifting to a cloud and provider that worries or takes care of the infrastructure, right? Takes care of the systems. And then you can really focus on, what is your competitive advantage? What is your area of expertise, and I have to manage systems. And I think that that's a great way to think about this. We talk about AI in terms of it being something that augments the workforce, right? Or that we're going to be living into this more augmented workforce where we have AI and tech and machines working alongside of people that help enhance our human capacity. And I think that, if you think about it, even the role that I play now today isn't one that existed 5 or 7 years ago. There weren't responsible AI or ethicists or consultants that actually were helping. And so this is just an example of the kind of roles. And let's be real, we recognize that there's going to be some displacement, right? Because some of what we're going to be doing is shifting. There are going to be opportunities where we can gain greater efficiencies in certain places where AI might exist. But then look at the opportunities that we also create in new roles, like a role like mine, or the ones that we haven't even begun to realize that we'll need, in the future. And so I think that the perspective is really one about like we say, enhancing human capability, but then thinking about like what can emerge. I remember when we started talking about email and debit cards, and the concern then was that technology were going to replace the postal workers, and we're going to get rid of bank tellers, and even that we wouldn't have banks, right? And as opposed to that, yes, those technology advancements were disruptors, but it also opened up a world of opportunity that has shaped and changed how we do business, how we communicate, but also how we, get resources in financial institutions, et cetera. And so I think that this is one that we want to think about, as well as, what other worlds of opportunity does it create when we make some of the shifts. And then one last thing is, I do think that we have to be conscious and aware to think about where there is displacement, right? And again, I keep talking about this as being a people-centered sort of perspective that we need to have. And so where there is displacement or shifts, what are we doing as organizations to be able to explore ways to upskill and reskill people and invest in others that are going to be able to adapt, take in the technology, and actually be representative of the kind of work and the world that we want to have.
I love that you use the analogies that you did, right, about debit cards, because I think that those are all pivotal points as we are now where technology or a tool is potentially changing the world. And that's a lot of the conversation that's happening, right? How is AI changing the world? But how far along do you all think we are actually? What is your company doing from an innovation standpoint that's highlighting the strides that are being made, and why does that stand out? And maybe couple that with what you're most excited about.
I can take that first if you want. There's a lot of work still to be done in generative AI for images. Well, there's a lot of work to be done for text too. ChatGPT kind of changed the world a few months ago. I'd have a hard time explaining to a neighbor what I did for a living, and now you have 8-year-olds who know what ChatGPT is. So I think large language models, the technology behind ChatGPT is advancing very rapidly still, but that's well known and understood there. But I think imagery is kind of the right here, right now. And what I'm looking forward to and what I'm excited about is when we get to video and 3D objects as well, which are considerably harder than 2D images. But like, for instance, you think about generative AI video, and you wanted a 69 Camaro coming down a street and turning right. Well, it's one thing to generate an image, but the Camaro has to be exactly the same as it turns the street in every angle. And so you have to have this sort of temporal coherence, and over time that generative AI object needs to remain the same, and the building needs to have the same look, and there's a lot of stuff to get figured out. But it starts to get really amazing in terms of what we can put in the hands of artists who can now quickly create these scenarios and do things. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. This is deep computer science. It's not magic, it's math. And just
Just feels like magic, right?
yeah, it feels like magic, and it feels really strange and scary, but it's actually math, and it's all about probabilities. But once you can do this, then you start to create a lot of opportunities, not just for artists who are making things, but for the artists who are creating photography, for the artists who are creating music, for the artists who are creating 3D objects, because all of that data then goes into creating these AI models. So you have business opportunities, but you also have the artist opportunities on both ends of it, both as the consumers and users of it, but also the ones who are generating the media that's going into training these models. That's pretty cool stuff. It means everything's going to change. I was talking earlier, prompt engineer is a job now. People who their full-time job is as a prompt engineer, and that didn't exist as a job 6 months ago. So just imagine what 2 or 3 years from now is going to be like. Cool stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And Jackie, from your perspective, on the creative side, what are you most excited about? Is AI here? Is it going to unlock additional opportunities for you?
Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely here on the creative side and has been for a while, even if it's something as producing transcripts instead of, manual transcription. Yes, those jobs actually still do exist, but obviously everything is moving more towards that automation model. The one thing I will say as someone who has been in the industry for a very long time is that some advice that somebody gave me at the start was the one thing that is guaranteed is change. The media industry does evolve at a rapid pace. I think about where I started off and, we were edited on film and where we are now, and they are two very, very different places. So I've seen a lot of technology and a lot of evolution throughout my career, and I've always had to embrace that to stay on top of it. In terms of what I'm excited about in particular is the scalability and monetization, not just for the media organizations themselves and the content providers themselves, but for the creatives. So just to go a little bit more into that, if you look at things like deep fake technology and actors being able to be in more than one place at more than one time. Once obviously we get around the IP and regulatory and ethical issues around it, which hopefully, we know those discussions are happening now. In terms of even, estate planning, if you are an actor and, your contract, you're not signing, you are retaining the IP to your voice, your likeness, your image in perpetuity. What does that mean for your estate into the future? And in terms of scalability, as media brands are expanding and producing more localized content, the ability to be able to produce that very quickly in a local voice to get out in front of more audiences.
It's fascinating. And Dia, we'll end with you and your insight about what you are most excited about.
I think I end up in conversations oftentimes because people are concerned about the risks, and there is, I think, some risk and concerns that that those that have been typically marginalized, underrepresented, underserved will be at the sort of disproportionately affected, by some of the harms or in negative ways. And that's whether it's people who are differently abled or from different sexual orientations, religious backgrounds, age, experience, etc. And while I know those risks are real, I actually am excited because I think that there is a great opportunity where AI can expand access to resources like in healthcare and banking and help to improve trending effects of climate change and even level the playing field for those that have been typically marginalized so that we can actually see a much more equitable and safe future. So while all of these things are happening, part of, the fun and the joy for me is or the excitement for me is being a part of helping to hopefully shape and reshape the way in which we consume AI so that it can be safer and better for us all.
I don't know how we are already at time. We were just having too much fun. But that does wrap our time for session 1, but there's more to come. So with that, I want to thank each of our panelists for joining us and for truly just sharing your amazing insights and perspectives. And I'm going to bring Skip back to the stage to introduce the next session. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks to our partners. There were so many great insights and so many great sound bites. But what is clear is whether you're a creative or a business professional, AI is a way to supercharge your operation, and it can lead to some really strong outcomes. That was my takeaway, at least. And I'm going to go off script a little bit because I'm watching a little bit of the chatter come in through the questions, and a lot of you are really curious about our product demonstration. Our product demonstration is going to be happening towards the end of the hour, so 3:45 for you folks who are on the East Coast, and 12:45 for me who's on the West Coast. And if you're globally, it's just towards the top of the hour. So, okay, before we get into our next conversation, we've got some breaking news, and I've got an announcement to make. So I am pleased to share that today, Shutterstock is announcing a partnership with the United Nations International Telecommunication Union's AI for Good initiative. This is a collaboration and an effort to advance responsible AI practices. The goal of AI for Good is to identify practical applications of AI to advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and scale those solutions for global impact. It's the leading action-oriented global and inclusive United Nations platform on artificial intelligence. This collaboration will help forge a path for the tech community to develop and integrate responsible AI practices and procedures into our workflows. But you don't have to take our word for it. Here's what Fred Werner, head of strategic engagement for the United Nations ITU, had to say. As we look to the future of AI integration, we have a responsibility to understand what this means for developers, users, and communities. Shutterstock's participation in AI for Good demonstrates a commitment to solving many of the issues involved with human-machine collaboration. This collaboration with Shutterstock will inspire our community to both learn about this technology and consider the impacts when creating processes, policies, and procedures for integration. So thanks for that, Fred. So why is this important to us? We at Shutterstock have a responsibility to not only deliver the latest and greatest tools that help our communities win, but we have the ability to influence how others develop and use tools for good. And so it's important that we align with like-minded entities in the space that can help us all advance responsibly. If you're curious to learn more about this awesome partnership, you can read more in the release just posted to our newsroom on shutterstock.com/press. And maybe we'll see some of you at our keynote address at the United Nations AI for Good Global Summit happening in Geneva this summer. So some very cool stuff is happening at Shutterstock, and now let's get back to the show. Obviously, we at Shutterstock believe that AI is an additional tool with which creatives and businesses can improve outcomes and remain competitive, but those are not the only factors that matter. I wanted to hear an artist's perspective on the topic, and so I asked in my best Carrie Bradshaw voice, I couldn't help but wonder, how are artists using AI to expand their playgrounds? I recently sat down with Time Magazine's contributing artist, visual storyteller, and all-around cool guy, Ja Reynolds, who is using AI to further his medium of expression. Right now, you're about to view the debut of our one-on-one sit-down, where we're tackling the beautiful, philosophical, and sometimes clunky topic of AI and its use in art. Do you think AI is going to take artist jobs? Why have you faced backlash for your use of AI? Any concerns using it in an art form? Welcome, everyone. We're tackling the difficult questions surrounding AI. We're being joined by Ja, visual artist and storyteller, to get his perspective on the topic.
I'm a filmmaker and visual artist based in LA, originally from New York. I always say that my style is when I snuck into my uncle's room reading his comic books while people outside in Brooklyn were just playing Biggie and stuff through their cars. Like, that's my artistic style. I like to have playtime. I'll sit down at the computer and I'll just start writing out prompts based off things that I liked as a kid. You know, like my favorite show as a kid was Power Rangers, and I recently just did a project called Helmet City where I took those experiences in Brooklyn, New York, and tied them together. So for me, it's just, let's see how we can merge that all together with film and 2D, you know?
Welcome, Ja. There's a lot of conversation happening around AI and its use in art and its use in storytelling, and whether AI is art or whether it's science. And so we're here to kind of address that elephant in the room and get your perspective as someone who's doing some really amazing things in the space. So we've got some questions for you. Are there any concerns that you have with AI image generation and using it in an art form?
Yeah, I'm an artist, so I do think about fair use. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is like a royalty system, like making sure that those artists that the AI is pulling from, they're being reciprocated in some kind of way. And I think the other thing too is learning the balance in the relationship. I look at AI as a collaborative tool. I don't want the AI to work for me. I want it to work with it, you know? And just making sure that there's that human element in the process. It's just always there because it's feeding all the information that it gets is from us, right? We're feeding that to it. So it's like, continue to walk side by side with it and just continue to create that way. I think that's very important.
What are your thoughts on generating images in the style of artists?
I think it depends on how it's used, I feel like. If someone wrote a prompt that said Darth Vader in space, you can't do that. It's a character that already exists, and I think that's more of a copy. Mm-hmm. But as opposed to something like Space Warrior, filmed in the style of George Lucas, added with other things, right? Put it all together, then that's something different. You just made something transformative in a way, right? And I think a lot of art is based off that process. Like there's a transformative process. As long as there's credit being given to the original source, I think that's fine.
And for me, this is nothing new. If we look at music industry and sampling, particularly in hip hop, is the medium, right? You find samples, you use them every decade, but you're giving credit and homage and royalties to those original artists.
Yeah.
So I view this as an emerging opportunity to have that conversation. So let me ask this question. I'm gonna go to market with a campaign and I put in the style of Ja as part of my prompts. How are you gonna feel if that shows up on a billboard somewhere?
I'll feel the way. I will feel the way.
Negative, positive, proud?
Negative. If it wasn't me, I would be like, man, that's crazy. Like I don't like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And let's get into that. Why wouldn't you like that?
I wouldn't like that because I think it's because I just got into this realm and I really started to articulate my creative language through this space. And I didn't get a chance to receive that level of attention, you know? And like, I would naturally feel, because I sat down there and I put in the time to articulate my vision in that way. And I would probably be upset. But would I be upset 20 years from now? 30 years from now? Probably not. I'll probably be flattered, you know?
So yeah, proximity to timeliness of the artist and also the exposure of the artist.
Yeah.
I think what you just articulated is interesting, is the sense that you feel ownership over the work that you're producing as a result of AI.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sure that many artists feel ownership of their styles or blood, sweat, and tears of their mediums. And so it is a fine line that we walk, and I won't assume to sit here and say that I have the answers, but some of those ethical questions I think we need to have as a community, right?
For sure, 1,000%. Yeah. 1,000%.
Do you think AI is going to take artists' jobs?
I think in a way, yes. And in other ways, no, I won't lie to you. Like it made a lot of situations for me easier. And I could see how people would rely on that more so anything else. But I think it leaves more room for ideation, you know? It'll open up more opportunities for more people. Because I always believe that human element has to just be involved in the process.
Why have you faced backlash for your use of AI?
I faced backlash for my use of AI because of assumption. You know, this isn't real art. Because like, you didn't actually physically just sat down and you didn't make it. I believe that a lot of people didn't know what the process looked like behind the scenes. They just thought it was just, you know, I put in a picture or something and then this would come out. They weren't aware of the prompt writing and everything that came with it.
There was an assumption that you hadn't done the work.
Exactly.
And for me, I do think that art requires thought and process and toiling over this color, that texture, this size, that shape, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lack of understanding that through the use of AI, you're still running that process.
Yes. I think even more so in a sense, because you have to articulate that through words, especially with prompt writing. Like you have to be able to articulate, you know, you may put out an image and it doesn't come out the way you want. You have to go back in there and write out what you want the AI to help you generate. So yeah, it's a lot of that. That's an art form in itself to me. So in the beginning, I wasn't really hitting it because I was just using basic prompts like man standing by a river. The thing is, you want to keep refining it.
And so how would you take man standing by a river and refine it?
So you have the basic prompt there, man standing by a river, but then you would want to go in, what does this man look like? So I'll say black man standing by a river, right? What is he wearing? Black man wearing street apparel, standing by a river. Where's this river? In Colorado. You just keep refining, and then if you want like film language, if you want to look a certain way, you can say shot on a 50mm lens, shallow depth of field, and it'll give you more. So it's just continuously just adding on to that basic prompt and just embellishing it.
Cool. So essentially, you're writing a story within the prompt, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
To get you closer to the result or the vision that you have in your mind.
Yeah.
Because generative AI technology is new, we've had to have ethical conversations about what compensation looks like for the artists that are feeding the models that allow you to do what you do. Shutterstock is forging the path towards equitable and responsible AI integration and compensating its artists. So we've launched the Contributor Fund, really focused on if your image or your data has been used to train these models, right, you will get compensated, similar to how artists have been from our organization for more than 20 years. I want to talk about how AI is opening up new revenue streams for you and how you have essentially padded your pockets with the use of AI.
Yeah, through Web3, I've been able to sell my pieces on different marketplaces. And if you're not familiar with Web3, it's utilizing blockchain technology. So I've sold pieces on the blockchain. Another way is, like you mentioned, with Shutterstock, just being able for an artist to create models and do model training.
What do you like about Shutterstock's AI tool over others?
Shutterstock's AI image generator is super intuitive. The models that are trained are just really strong models, really good.
Are there any areas that you think we can improve on?
The last project that I did, Helmet City, used hip hop, streetwear, the Japanese genre, tokusatsu. And I remember through that, I had a little bit of difficulty just getting those images right. So I think opening up to different categories, or maybe that's model training, just having more artists come in and having more models in the database would probably help.
I think that's a very important, we talked about inclusivity, but it's also inclusivity in training the models, right? Particularly as we're talking about equitable access, it's also about equity and feeding those models to make sure that when you are putting in those prompts, essentially those reference points, that we have enough data to inform the output that you want, right?
Exactly.
And so that goes for skin tone, that goes for gender identity, expression, cultural references, globalization, all of the things. The more data and the more information that the models have, the better the result on the other side. And so it is the responsibility of a Shutterstock, a leader in this space, to make sure that we have data and models that are representative of the world that we live in, right? Not just a slice.
Yeah, totally.
So Ja, we're fortunate to have you as a Create Fund winner. And some of your art is featured as part of a collection on Shutterstock. And I wanted to get your thoughts on having some of your art train the AI image generator.
That would be amazing. That would be really cool.
And what excites you about that?
The most exciting part is that it's models trained from my imagination. Just being able to help other people create worlds like based off that would be really cool. Knowing that like I'd be compensated.
That's all right. And that was just a snippet from our longer conversation. If you're curious to hear more, visit the Shutterstock blog or shutterstock.com/generate, where we will be publishing the full interview. All right, let's keep the party going, shall we? So far today, we've heard from industry experts and innovators using AI to power up their operations. Ja has demonstrated how he's using Shutterstock AI to expand his creative toolbox. And now, because I'm seeing the chatter right now, what's left for us to do? Let's let our amazing product team demonstrate a bit of the AI innovation happening within our walls. Right now, I'm pleased to welcome my friend Jeff Cunning, Shutterstock's Vice President of Product for AI, who is going to give you a demonstration on how Shutterstock can add value to your work, giving you the ability to create at the speed of your imagination.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Cunning. We're VP of Product for AI here at Shutterstock. And today, I'm really excited to talk through a lot of the incredible advancements in generative AI and creative technologies that are taking place here at Shutterstock. Our mission is to make the creative process easier and faster so you can deliver standout content with confidence. We want to eliminate the time, the money, the wasted effort, the frustration that often come along with learning new creative tools, and enable you to achieve commercially viable outcomes without sacrificing quality or creativity. So let's dive in. Imagine I'm the social media manager at a publishing company, and I need to create multiple social media posts featuring key art. I search for glass flower and can choose this photograph by this talented artist from the Netherlands, or this cool orange rose from Narunta in Thailand. Every time I license an image from Shutterstock, I'm actually supporting these artists' livelihoods. Shutterstock helps millions of artists around the world sell their work online. And we've actually paid out over $1 billion in contributor earnings through our platform. For my TikTok post, I can search for videos of flowers. For example, I can choose this awesome video from Futurist, who's a great talented CG artist. And I can also choose some happy music or sound effects from Grammy-winning musicians. I can trim, zoom, and resize my videos with Shutterstock Create, giving me more control and flexibility, and serving as a true one-stop solution. The Shutterstock platform gives me all the creative ingredients I need in one place. But let's say the vision that I have for what I want to create doesn't exist yet. Well, now I can create exactly what I want instantly with AI image generator. And what's great about the Shutterstock AI image generator is that contributing artists are getting paid every time I generate and license new images. Shutterstock was actually the first company to set up a contributor fund for compensating contributing artists for their role in generative models. Generative AI models were created because of real people with real content, and we believe that these contributing artists are our partners as we venture into this new AI frontier together. We built the AI image generator with the everyday creator in mind. And with our platform, you can get exactly what you need as quickly as you can imagine it. So let's say I want an image of flowers, but specifically I want a close-up of a bouquet of golden roses. As you can see, the results are pretty original. I don't have to be a techie or an expert in generative AI to get really exceptional results. Our style selector features over 100 one-click styles, everything from 3D avatars to photorealism to illustrations, so you can really easily play around to get exactly what you want. And I'm happy to say, the Shutterstock is just getting started. AI isn't only enabling you to generate new images. In fact, we actually believe that AI can transform the entire creative process. And with that in mind, I'm super excited to share a sneak peek of our next big release, our AI design assistant. You can tell our design assistant the vision that you're trying to bring to life and collaborate with it until you've created it. Our AI design assistant can inspire your creative journey so you're not starting from a blank slate. It can help guide you from an early concept to a finished product. And it can make any creative change that previously would have required an expert designer in just a matter of seconds. For example, I can write, I want to create an image of friendly creatures for a children's book cover. Can you give me some creative suggestions? And as you can see, it can quickly spin up some new creative suggestions and ask me which one fits my needs best. Let's say I like this image of the baby tree monster, but I want to customize it. We're building some pretty magical AI editing capabilities to allow you to do exactly that. For example, let's say I want to zoom out. If I ask the design assistant to do that, it can automatically infer what's beyond the borders of our image and automatically bring that to life. If I want different variations of the same image, maybe for other characters in my book, I can ask the design assistant to create new versions. And just like that, it can create new variations of the same image. It's pretty amazing. Now let's say I want to modify just a specific aspect of this image. I really like this baby tree monster, but it doesn't exactly fit the vision that I had for this character. Well, now without logging into expert design software, I can simply ask the design assistant, can you remove these leaves off the top of the baby tree monster's head? And just like that, it's done. Shutterstock is focused on making it ridiculously easy to get you the exact result you want. I can ask the design assistant to change the background, add filters, shapes, text, and more. And I don't have to learn how to use new design software to be able to make any of these changes because it does it all for me. We truly believe this is going to be the most user-friendly, the simplest, and the most powerful creative platform on the market. Speaking of, once I'm happy with my image, I can ask the design assistant to turn it into a social post to promote my book. And I don't have to bounce around from app to app, downloading and uploading content to make this happen. ultimately saving you time, and save time means save money, save effort, save resources. So we're really excited to be rolling out the Design Assistant in the coming months, so stay tuned for more updates. Now, I mentioned earlier that Shutterstock is in a unique position to bring a commercially viable AI image generator to market, not only because of our partnership with our artists, but also because we deeply understand all the complexities with legally licensing content, and we've always sought to eliminate risk for our customers and our artists. So I'm excited to unveil that we're bringing indemnification to AI-generated images. So you can freely use AI-generated images for your projects without worrying about the fear of copyright infringement or ethical issues. Lastly, I want to close with some exciting updates about our partnership with NVIDIA. Recently, our companies unveiled our strategy to bring generative AI to 3D creation. In the coming months, we're going to be releasing our 3D generative model that's going to allow you to use text descriptions to create detailed 3D models without any 3D modeling or software or design skills needed. It's going to take creation time from hours or days down to minutes. The tool will leverage the largest collection of professional 3D models, courtesy of TurboSquid by Shutterstock. TurboSquid is the largest library in the world of 3D models for architecture, VR, AR, gaming, and more. And just like our AI images and our stock images, contributing artists will get paid through our contributor fund for their contributions to our generative 3D models. I want to thank you so much for your time today. At Shutterstock, we're bridging the gap between idea, design, and execution, allowing you to truly create with confidence. With our generative AI capabilities, our premium content, our design tools, our studio capabilities, our editorial division, and a team of trusted partners behind the scenes, with Shutterstock, you truly have the best chance at winning.
And thanks, Jeff. That brings us to the near end of the program, but we've got one final session. And so I'd like to welcome back to the program visual artist Jeff Cunning, Vice President of Product for AI. Hello. And for the first time today, Michael Franchella, our Director of Innovation. And please welcome back Megan Sean, our Chief Product Officer. So I'm going to go off script just for a moment. I see that we have over 100 questions to answer. And so my commitment to you is to make sure that we respond to those questions. And so I'm going to work with our content team. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Pearl. Hi, Bridget. On getting y'all answers and posting those publicly, because there's some great discussions that we'd like to leverage here. So please continue to send us your questions. We'll make sure that content gets to you so you have the answers you need. All right. Let's go. I've got a couple questions for this team before we close out the hour. The first one is for our visual artist and storyteller, Ja, what would you say to folks out there who are fearful or apprehensive about using AI as a form of expression?
I would say, one, the apprehension is understandable, but the other facet of it is, we all talked about the invention of the camera, and like, if we fast forward to today, right? How am I talking to everyone right now? We have this webcam, so it's like, art is also exploration, and it's important that we explore and see what works for us. And then, AI is a tool, and then see how it resonates with you. But if it doesn't resonate, that's also fine, because now you have the information, now and knowledge of self is very important. So, yeah.
All right, beautiful, thanks. All right, let's go on to Jeff. Jeff, in your product demonstration, you mentioned indemnification in what we just viewed. For those of us who are not legal scholars, can you tell us what indemnification is and why it's important?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the question, Skip. Yeah, for those not intimately familiar, indemnification basically means that Shutterstock's going to provide you with the ability to license images for commercial use, and with the confidence that you're going to be covered from a legal perspective. So this new announcement means that in addition to the licensing confidence that we already provide, we will now on demand take newly generated images through our human content review process. So that way we can ensure that new images that are created are not going to contain the likeness of a brand, a public personality, or other protected content. And assuming that that's the case, you're going to receive indemnity for use in commercial use cases. So, why does that matter? Well, if you're not aware, there are a lot of questions about intellectual property as it pertains to generative AI. So, like we've talked about it in a couple places on this presentation so far, generative AI models, they're trained on hundreds of millions or even billions of human-created images. And so there's questions in the market of, do these outputs, should they belong to the person who typed in the prompt? Should they belong to the model itself? Or should they belong to all the artists whose content went into training these models in the first place?
Right.
With Shutterstock, we really strongly believe that the content that artists create is critical in empowering these generative AI models. And so we want these artists to be our business partners in this journey. So Skip mentioned this earlier as well. With this in mind, we launched our contributor fund. And the contributor fund, it compensates artists for the role that their content plays in developing these generative AI models. And anytime that somebody comes to Shutterstock, generates a new image and licenses it, we continue to pay out contributors through our contributor fund. So with all that in mind, because of this approach where we are compensating source artists, which is, in contrast to some other options on the market where there are models trained off of scraped content, we can license these new generative assets to our customers. And, we ensure that artists who collectively may have contributed to this new IP are being compensated. So that's what allows us to provide indemnity to our customers so that they can be confident in using these assets for all their commercial purposes.
Well, thank you. I think you've got a career on the bench in the future. So next question goes to Michael Francello, who is our Director of Innovation. And Michael, you do a lot of customer-facing activities, and you're really interested in the AI space. And so as you travel around, talk with clients, prospectives, customers, and really have a grip on what businesses and enterprise are needing in their toolbox to be successful, what really sets Shutterstock tools apart from the rest? And what should people watch out for in their quest for great AI tools?
Thanks, Skip. It's a great question. I think it comes down to ease, confidence, and responsibility. Jeff showed you in the product demo that you can use Shutterstock's AI image generator to create at the speed of your imagination. There's confidence in what Jeff was just talking about because of how we've trained the model and how we're compensating the artist. We're able to offer legal protections and indemnifications for commercial use cases you simply can't get. A lot of these other tools are specifically, they state it, are not meant for commercial use cases. And then there's the responsibility. It's actually compensating artists for the use of their intellectual property, as well as for when something is licensed from our platform. I think in terms of what people should look for, they should look for somebody that has an artist-centric and an ethical approach and actually cares about this industry. And that's really what Shutterstock does. And that's why I love working here, is we intimately understand the intricacies of licensing. And really what we do is we just seek to eliminate risks for our customers. What I always encourage people is if somebody shows you a magic trick, ask them how they do it. If they're unwilling to tell you, maybe your data is part of the illusion.
Love that. Okay, sound bites all around. Ja, I see you nodding along. You have any thing to add on to that perspective? I'm sorry. Here you go.
No, I got it. I'm back. But no, I just really agree. I loved. I like that analogy of the magic trick. That really hit. But I don't have anything to add. I just thought it was really good.
All right, thanks. I've got a final question for Megan before we get out of here. Megan, as someone who is at the forefront of helping to shape the future using artificial intelligence, what final thoughts or advice can you provide our audience that may help them navigate the solutions out there?
I think it's simple. Lean in, experiment, be open, understand that AI is here. It is a game changer, and it has the potential to be a companion for creativity. I liked what Francello just said around the magic trick, because I think a part of leaning in is also asking questions. There's a lot of uncertainty in this space because it's new, and the best way to cut through that is to have good partnerships, trusted partners, and a willingness to experiment and ask questions. But it's here.
It is here indeed. All right, we hope it has been a valuable hour for you. We're right on time. I'm so surprised. We've packed in a ton of information to consider. If you missed any of today's sessions or are hungry for more, don't worry. You'll be able to rewatch today's broadcast on Shutterstock.com. And as this has been a team sport, I'd like to truly thank the events, product, production, marketing, brand studios, communication, and digital teams for helping us to pull this off. It's been a sprint, and so we appreciate those efforts. From all of us to you, thank you for joining, and we hope to be your partner so you can continue to create with confidence. Until next time, Team Shutterstock, we are out.